My name is Margaret, and this is the story of how the man I loved, the man I trusted more than anyone else, betrayed me for someone half my age. And how, in the end, life had its way of balancing everything. I grew up in a small town, the kind of place where everyone knew each other. My family wasn't rich, but we had love, and that was enough. When I was 19, I worked at a little bakery on Main Street. I woke up before the sun every morning, dusted flour off my apron, and watched the world go by through the window. That's where I first saw Robert. He came in for bread one morning, pretending to browse, though his eyes kept wandering toward me. He ordered the same thing every day, a loaf of rye and a smile. Eventually, I realized he wasn't there for the bread. He was there for me. Robert was 22 then, tall, with dark hair that fell into his eyes. He didn't have much, just a few worn shirts and a pair of shoes with scuffed edges. But he had ambition. He spoke about the future as if it were something he could reach out and grab with his own hands. And when he looked at me, I felt like I was already a part of that future. We courted simply. Walks by the river, sharing ice cream cones, dancing at the town square when the band played. We didn't need much. I remember one evening, sitting on the hood of his old car, looking up at the stars. He turned to me and said, "One day, Margaret, I'll give you the world. You won't have to worry about anything, just wait and see." His voice was so sure, so certain that I believed him. I believed in us. We married a year later. The wedding was small, held in a white-painted church that smelled of lilies and candle wax. My dress was borrowed, my bouquet was wildflowers from the field. Robert's suit was one size too big, but his smile lit the whole room. When he slipped the ring on my finger, I thought we were unstoppable. The early years were hard. We lived in a tiny apartment with thin walls and a leaking roof. There were nights when rain dripped into buckets placed strategically around the room. We laughed about it, calling it our indoor fountain. We were poor, yes, but we were happy. He worked long hours in construction, and I picked up shifts at the bakery to help. Some nights we shared one plate of food, splitting it down the middle, but he would always insist I take the larger portion. "You need your strength," he'd say. When our son Matthew was born, our lives changed forever. Holding him in my arms, I felt a love I never knew existed. 2 years later, our daughter Sarah came into the world, and our little family felt complete. Life was not easy. Children cry, bills pile up, exhaustion settles into your bones. But Robert and I were partners. Or so I thought. As Robert worked his way up, things improved. He started his own business, small at first, just a handful of employees, but I was proud. I helped where I could. I cooked meals for his workers, cleaned the office on weekends, balanced the books when he was too tired. I was his partner not just at home but in his dreams. I believed every success of his was ours, and for a while it seemed true. We moved into a bigger house. He bought a shiny car. The children had better clothes, better schools. Our lives blossomed, but with success came distance. Robert started staying late at work. At first, it was believable. Meetings, dinners with clients, emergencies at the office. I didn't question it. I trusted him. I wanted to believe we were still the same people, still the same couple that once split meals in a one-room apartment. But small cracks appeared. He began criticizing me, gently at first, then sharply. "You don't dress like other women, Margaret. Why don't you try to keep up?" Or, "You've let yourself go. You used to be so much more lively." I laughed it off, tried harder. I bought new dresses, dyed my hair, even joined a gym, though I hated every second of it. I thought if I changed, if I tried hard enough, he would look at me the way he once did. But no matter what I did, it was never enough. He grew colder, more distant. His eyes wandered when we were out in public, lingering on younger women. I told myself it was nothing, just the foolishness of men. But deep down, a fear began to grow. That fear became reality one night. Robert came home late, his suitcase already packed. He didn't ease into it, didn't try to explain gently. He looked me in the eye and said, "I can't do this anymore, Margaret. I deserve happiness. I've given enough of my life to this routine. I've found someone else. Her name is Lila. She's young, she makes me feel alive. I can't stay here." The world tilted beneath me. I had cooked his favourite meal that night. The table was set with candles, and yet none of it mattered. He was already gone, even as he stood in front of me. I begged him. I reminded him of our years together, our children, our vows. Tears streamed down my face as I pleaded, "Robert, please, don't throw this away." But he was unmoved. "I'm sorry, Margaret, but I can't live like this anymore." And with that, he left. The days that followed were unbearable. I cried until there were no tears left. Every corner of the house screamed his absence, the empty chair at the dinner table, the silence in our bedroom, the way the children's eyes clouded when they asked where their father was. I tried to be strong for them, but inside I was crumbling. I felt invisible, worthless. Meanwhile, Robert and Lila paraded their happiness for the world to see. Photos of expensive vacations, dinners in fine restaurants, her hand resting possessively on his arm. She was young, stylish, radiant. And I was the discarded wife, left behind like an old coat that no longer fit. People whispered. Some pitied me, others smirked. The humiliation was a wound that refused to heal. But life has a way of revealing truths. Robert's business began to falter. The money he once spent so freely dried up. Deals failed, investments collapsed. His once loyal employees abandoned him. And Lila? Her love was conditional. She wanted gifts, trips, luxury. Without them, her affection vanished. Soon she left him for someone richer, someone who could give her what he no longer could. She drained his accounts and disappeared without a trace. Robert was left with nothing. No money, no business, no mistress, just the echoes of his choices. As for me, slowly, I rebuilt. Matthew and Sarah became my strength. They stood by me, reminded me of my worth. "Mum," Sarah said one night, holding my hand, "we see you. We know what you've given. You don't need Dad to define you." Her words were a balm to my soul. I found work at the library, surrounded by stories that reminded me of resilience, of women who had endured and survived. I started gardening again, planting roses and watching them bloom. Each petal felt like a piece of my heart healing. I rediscovered myself, not as Robert's wife, not as the abandoned woman, but as Margaret, strong, capable, whole. Months later, Robert returned. He knocked on my door one rainy evening. When I opened it, I barely recognized him. His hair was thinner, his face lined with stress, his clothes worn. He looked 10 years older. His voice trembled as he whispered, "Margaret, I made a mistake. Please, take me back." I studied him for a long moment. Memories flooded me. Our early years, our children's laughter, the nights I cried myself to sleep, the humiliation of his betrayal. And I realized something profound. I no longer needed him. "Robert," I said softly, "you didn't just betray me. You betrayed our family, our vows, the years we built together. I gave you everything, and you traded it for a fantasy. I forgive you, but I will never take you back." Tears filled his eyes. He tried to speak, but I closed the door gently, leaving him in the rain. That night I sat by the fire with my children nearby, and I felt peace wash over me. For the first time in years I was free, not because Robert returned, but because I no longer needed him. His betrayal had nearly destroyed me, but it had also set me free. And so I share my story, not with bitterness, but with clarity. To anyone listening, if someone leaves you for another, remember this: it is not you who is unworthy. It is they who are blind. Youth fades, beauty fades, but loyalty, love, and faithfulness endure. Robert learned that lesson the hard way. As for me, I found something greater than his empty promises. I found myself. And that, my friends, is the sweetest victory of all.